Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. It was a quiet November morning in a small, tight-knit neighborhood in North Carolina. 13-year-old Hania Aguilar stepped outside her home to warm up the car, something she had done many times before. Everything seemed normal, until it wasn't. Out of nowhere, a man appeared. He grabbed Hania and forced her into the family's SUV. Her scream echoed through the air as the vehicle sped away, leaving the neighborhood in shock and her family desperate for answers. What followed was a heartbreaking mystery that shook the community and left everyone asking the same question. What happened to Hania? Hania Aguilar was born on March 21, 2005, in the United States to Celsia Hernandez and Noel Aguilar, both immigrants from Guatemala who had moved to the United States in pursuit of the American dream. However, shortly after her birth, her parents separated. Noel returned to Guatemala, leading to a distant relationship with his daughter. Initially, Hania was raised solely by her mother, Celsia. Over time, Celsia started a new chapter in her life with Miguel Barrera, and together they had two daughters. Hania was known by her family and friends as a cheerful, loving, and kind-hearted girl with big aspirations. She was extroverted, a devoted daughter, sister, and friend who left a lasting impression on those around her with her warm nature and lively conversations. Her favorite color was purple, and from a young age, she had a profound love for music, filling her home with melodies from her violin. By 2018, the family was living peacefully in Rosewood Mobile Home Park in Robeson County, North Carolina, a community predominantly inhabited by Hispanic immigrants. At 13 years old, the young girl stood out as an exceptional 8th-grade student at Lumberton Middle School. On what seemed like an ordinary morning, November 5, 2018, their calm routine was shattered in an instant. At around 7 a.m., as the young girl was outside her home warming up the family vehicle, a stranger approached her from behind. Before she could react, the man grabbed her forcefully and pushed her into the vehicle, which sped off within moments. A neighbor who heard screams witnessed a man dressed in black clothing with long sleeves and a yellow bandana forcing her into the family's green SUV. The vehicle then raced out of the mobile home park. Hania's younger sister was also outside and saw the terrifying incident unfold. Frozen in fear, she later recalled how the man appeared out of nowhere and quickly abducted her sister. Authorities were alerted immediately, and by 10 a.m., an Amber Alert was issued. Hania was described as a 13-year-old Hispanic girl, weighing around 125 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. At the time of her abduction, she was wearing a blue floral shirt and blue jeans. The Lumberton police, with the help of local and federal agencies, launched an intensive search. Helicopters circled over Rosewood, and police officers stopped vehicles entering the area, questioning drivers for leads. In a press conference, the police chief announced that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had disseminated Hania's information to authorities across Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and South Carolina. Investigators stated there was no evidence suggesting Hania knew her abductor, and her family fully cooperated with the investigation. Community members, friends, and neighbors rallied alongside law enforcement, anxiously joining the search efforts. On November 6th, Celsia issued a heartfelt plea through the FBI, expressing her deep love for her daughter and her longing for her safe return. In her message, she extended forgiveness to those responsible, saying her only wish was to see her daughter again. The case quickly gained national attention. The FBI, in collaboration with the governor's office, offered a $15,000 reward for any information leading to the girl's whereabouts. That same day, a surveillance video was released showing the stolen green 2002 Ford Expedition shortly after the abduction. Authorities urged anyone with home surveillance footage that might be relevant to come forward. The vehicle was described as having peeling paint on the hood, a sticker on the rear window, and North Carolina plates. The next day, the stolen SUV was found abandoned in a wooded area about 3 miles from Hania's home. Evidence collected from the vehicle was sent to the FBI laboratory in Virginia for analysis. Later that day, the FBI released another chilling video showing a man walking deliberately through the area, seemingly stalking his target. The footage sent shivers through viewers, highlighting the cold and calculated nature of the abduction. The investigation continued with heightened urgency as the community held on to hope for Hania's safe return. Strangely, he was the only person seen wandering near the area at the time of the abduction. The footage, critical to the investigation, aimed to identify this individual and determine his potential connection to the case. Authorities called on the public to help identify the suspect. Meanwhile, Celsia gave an exclusive interview to a prominent news channel. Overcome with anguish, she expressed her heartbreak over her daughter's disappearance. Though words failed to capture the depth of her suffering, her faith remained unwavering. She believed deeply that her daughter would be found alive and safe. Turning to prayer, she expressed forgiveness toward the captor and pleaded with the public for their assistance. Her emotional plea was simple yet heartrending. "Bring my daughter back to me. I need her. I am suffering for her, and so are her sisters." To increase pressure on the perpetrator, the state added $5,000 to the FBI's initial reward, bringing the total to $20,000. Despite the videos and leads pursued by investigators, no person of interest had yet been identified. Just 3 days later, the FBI raised the reward once again, ultimately offering $30,000 for any information leading to answers. As the search intensified, investigators focused on a new lead. They hoped that the girl's distinctive white Adidas sneakers, which had colorful stitching on the heel, might provide a breakthrough. Authorities theorized that the captor might have disposed of them, and they urged the community to report any related findings. The FBI stressed the importance of staying vigilant, reminding the public that even the smallest clue could prove crucial. They continued to analyze the evidence meticulously and relied on media outreach to solicit help. The search for the young girl was prominently featured on the FBI's website as the most wanted case of the week. A Spanish-language podcast was also released, appealing for tips. Additionally, authorities made a direct appeal to hunters in Robeson County, urging them to review any surveillance footage for signs of the green SUV to determine when and how it had been abandoned. By Thanksgiving, the investigation had amassed over 800 leads, conducted interviews with more than 400 individuals, and reviewed countless hours of surveillance footage. Yet, the holiday was an agonizing one for Hania's family, marked by an overwhelming void. Friends and neighbors described the day as unbearably sorrowful, the absence of the girl's laughter cutting deep. The community came together, offering prayers and seeking solace in their shared hope that she could feel their love wherever she was. On November 27th, 13 days after her disappearance, the investigation took a grim and shocking turn. While following a lead on Wiregrass Road, authorities discovered a body at 4:45 p.m. It was submerged in a shallow pond, 10 miles from where the girl had been abducted. The body was face down, unclothed, and covered by a folding table, with branches and leaves tangled in the hair. Though the body was too decomposed for immediate identification, dental records were used to confirm the identity. The grim discovery dashed any lingering hopes of finding Hania alive. It was a devastating blow to her family and the community. Neighbors gathered outside her home to offer support and prayers, while the girl's stepfather expressed a faint hope that the body might not be hers. The following day, November 28th, Lumberton's police chief confirmed the worst. Visibly shaken, he expressed profound sorrow, stating he had hoped for a different outcome for the girl's family. The medical examiner later reported that her death was the result of homicidal violence, likely asphyxiation caused by pressure applied to her throat. Signs of sexual violence were also discovered, though the advanced state of decomposition made some findings inconclusive. Authorities, joined by the FBI, vowed to continue their pursuit of justice. They assured the public that they would not rest until those responsible for the heinous crime were held accountable. The confirmation of Hania's death sent shockwaves through the community, particularly among Hispanic residents, who rallied together to demand justice for her. About 10 days later, authorities made a breakthrough. Michael McClellan, a 34-year-old man with a history of sexual offenses and on parole at the time of the abduction, was arrested. Investigators revealed that DNA evidence from an unsolved 2016 sexual assault case linked McClellan to the victim. His capture brought a semblance of resolution, but the pain of the girl's loss remained deeply felt by all who had known and loved her. On December 8th, Michael appeared before a state magistrate at the Robeson County Detention Center. He was formally charged with the crimes involving the 13-year-old girl and was denied bail. McClellan faced 10 charges, including first-degree murder, first-degree rape, sexual offense against a minor under 15, first-degree sexual assault, statutory sexual offense with a minor, first-degree kidnapping, aggravated assault, felony restraint, child abduction, and concealing a body. The prosecution announced that additional charges could follow pending final toxicology and autopsy reports. Investigators suspected McClellan's crimes were fueled by racial prejudice and stereotypes, specifically targeting Hispanic communities under the false assumption that they were vulnerable and involved in drugs or money. Evidence suggested he deliberately sought victims in areas like the mobile home park where the teenager lived. As these legal proceedings unfolded, the young girl's funeral was held, a profoundly moving event attended by over 1,000 people, most dressed in her favorite color, purple. The ceremony featured balloons, flowers, and heartfelt tributes from family and friends who spoke of her bright smile and kindness. However, the occasion was overshadowed by the absence of her biological father, whose temporary visa request to attend the funeral was denied. Despite urgent appeals made at the U.S. Embassy in Guatemala City, his application was rejected due to concerns that he might not return to his home country. According to an immigration attorney, officials deemed his ties to Guatemala insufficient. When news of the denial broke, several high-ranking state politicians, including the governor, intervened. The governor sent a letter to the State Department urging reconsideration, and a Republican congressman reached out to the U.S. ambassador in Guatemala, emphasizing the tragic nature of the case and the father's right to grieve. Despite these efforts, the visa denial stood, and other family members in Guatemala, including the grandfather and aunt, were also refused entry. In a subsequent television interview, they admitted to having entered the United States illegally on 3 occasions in the past, but maintained that they had no intention of staying. Their only wish was to bid farewell to his daughter one last time. Unable to attend the funeral, he wrote a deeply emotional letter that was read aloud during the service. In it, he referred to his daughter as his beautiful princess and greatest treasure, expressing that even a lifetime would not have been enough to share all he wanted with her. He imagined her spreading joy in heaven, while he mourned her on earth, vowing to carry her memory in his heart forever. During the funeral, Celsia spoke about her final conversations with her daughter. She recalled holding her daughter's hand and telling her she wished to be eternal so she could always protect her. Celsia described her daughter as someone whose life was taken, but whose joy could never be stolen. Through tears, she vowed to stay strong and offer support to other families facing similar tragedies. She also expressed gratitude to the authorities who worked tirelessly to bring her daughter back home. Photos of the young girl were displayed during the service, and her friends read letters and played her favorite song, "A Thousand Years" by Christina Perri. Her white coffin, adorned with her name in gold letters, was transported by a horse-drawn carriage to a cemetery in Lumberton. In the days following the funeral, the case became embroiled in controversy when District Attorney Johnson Britt made a shocking revelation. He claimed that a critical piece of evidence might have saved Hania's life if it had been properly acted upon. Britt stated that on the day of the abduction, Robeson County Sheriff's deputies had access to DNA evidence linking Michael to prior sexual assault cases. However, they failed to act on this evidence or conduct appropriate follow-up investigations. The prosecutor substantiated his claims with a copy of an email sent to the sheriff's office in 2017. This email should have provided local authorities with probable cause to request a search warrant, but it was unclear what went wrong. It remained uncertain whether the communication was lost within the sheriff's department or simply forgotten on someone's desk. Adding to the mishandling of the case, it was revealed that 3 weeks before the teenager's disappearance, the Fairmont Police Department had issued an arrest warrant for Michael. The charges included theft and unlawful restraint following a botched car robbery. However, that warrant wasn't executed until November 13th, 8 days after Hania's abduction. Furthermore, the State Parole and Post-Release Supervision Commission had issued another arrest warrant on October 17th, citing parole violations. Yet no action was taken. During a press conference, the prosecutor criticized the mishandling of evidence, arguing that the information sent to the sheriff's office in 2017 should have prompted officers to collect DNA samples from Michael much earlier. Following an internal investigation into these failures, the Robeson County Sheriff's Office issued an apology to Hania's family on January 18, 2019. A press release announced the termination of investigator Daryl McPattern. Additionally, a senior officer with over 34 years of service, who had been suspended, chose to resign. The police department leadership expressed outrage, emphasizing that improper handling of reports, lack of thorough investigations, and poorly conducted interviews represented a systemic issue. These failures were deeply troubling, they said, and called for significant reforms. In the years that followed, the family's hope for justice faded amid endless legal delays. The onset of the COVID-19 pandemic further complicated matters. Hania's mother expressed frustration and feelings of abandonment by the justice system. During a pretrial hearing, she pleaded with the judge to move the case forward, stating that the system had failed her family. However, Michael's defense argued that the pandemic had severely limited their ability to meet with their client, while team experts were restricted and hesitant to visit him. The defense was also handling two other unrelated felony cases involving Michael, which added to the delays. The Superior Court judge warned Celsia that it could take up to 5 more years post-pandemic for such a complex case to go to trial, stressing that it was better to ensure thoroughness than risk errors requiring a retrial. Michael's trial faced numerous postponements, repeatedly being rescheduled until it was finally set for early 2024. Throughout this time, the community continued to honor Hania's memory. On every birthday, anniversary of her passing, and special occasion, family and friends organized events to remember her. Her neighbors and former classmates spoke of a beautiful young girl whose life was tragically cut short and who should have been living a long and happy life. At the second anniversary of her passing, Celsia confessed that as a mother, she could no longer look forward to Thanksgiving or Christmas. The grief had consumed her entirely. These once joyous holidays had become unbearable reminders of her loss, making them intensely painful for her to endure. Michael was finally brought to trial at the Robeson County Courthouse in North Carolina, where the prosecution sought the death penalty. They argued that the severity of his crimes met the necessary criteria for the ultimate punishment. During his transfer to court, Michael made a bold attempt to escape custody using a makeshift handcuff key. The attempt failed, as officers quickly subdued him. However, he tried again just hours later, demonstrating his desperation to avoid justice. The Robeson County Sheriff speculated that Michael had hidden the improvised key under his tongue, though it became lodged in the cuffs during his second attempt. In response, security was tightened significantly for the remainder of the proceedings. Once in court, Michael, now 40 years old, pleaded guilty to all charges. Facing Hania's grieving mother, he offered a brief and chilling confession. He admitted to abducting the young girl from her driveway, sexually assaulting her, taking her life, and discarding her body. His confession also included details of prior attacks in 2016 and 2018, further revealing his history of violent crimes. These admissions added weight to his sentence. The court sentenced Michael to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Hania's mother expressed both relief and sorrow after the sentencing. She thanked the authorities and the community for their unwavering support throughout the long and painful journey. While no punishment could undo the tragedy, she stated that the sentence brought her a sense of justice and closure for her family. The FBI special agent who led the investigation also expressed satisfaction with the verdict, hoping it would provide comfort to Hania's family and the other victims affected by Michael's crimes. Yet, what seemed to be the conclusion of a painful chapter took a shocking turn. As Michael was being transferred to the North Carolina Central Prison in Raleigh, he made yet another escape attempt. During the transfer, he struck the latch of a guard's firearm holster, causing the weapon to loosen. Michael briefly seized the gun, but the driver of the transport vehicle reacted swiftly, slamming the brakes and allowing another officer to wrestle the weapon from him. After a short struggle, officers used pepper spray to subdue him. Michael surrendered and was placed in a high-security cell, with authorities considering additional charges to his already extensive criminal record. Despite his relentless attempts to evade justice, Michael remains destined to spend the rest of his life behind bars. The case left an indelible impact on the Hispanic community in North Carolina, amplifying fears and mistrust in local authorities. The community criticized law enforcement's failures during the early stages of the investigation and called for reforms to ensure such negligence would not be repeated. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.